All right, let's look at one more example here of trying to determine information on a print and what some other indicators are for us as far as how to manufacture a part with um, the proper dimensions when we don't have all of the information. So we'll have a look here at this just very quick sketch of some radii. Notice we're looking for a dimension between this arc and the center of this hole. So one of the things we want to do in engineering drawings is just pay attention to the information that we need, because some of these drawings can be very confusing and have a lot of information on them. So what information do we actually need? So one thing to keep in mind when we are looking for a linear, let's say in this case, a horizontal linear dimension, then we need other horizontal linear dimensions to find it, right? Vertical dimensions, unless we're using trigonometry, vertical dimensions are not going to help us find this horizontal dimension. So we want to look for other horizontal dimensions. So I drew the ones that were necessary. But there may be another 20 dimensions on here that we have to ignore to find this information. So notice if we need this piece of information, we need to know what the distance is from the end of this radius to the center of this hole. I look for a dimension that I can use, so I can add and subtract to get this number. So in this case, I have a 2-inch dimension from the center of this hole to the center of this hole. Now I need information that's either relative directly to this hole or this hole right now so that I can add or subtract. So what I do have is I have a distance from the center of this hole to the edge of this radius. So it is as simple as taking this 2-inch length, right? So this is 0, let's say. Now we're at 2 inches. And don't worry about positive and negative right now, but if we just say 0 plus 2, which is accurate, minus 0.5, right? So we work in one direction, and then we work from that direction back. So 0 plus 2 minus 0.5, we know that this gives us a 1.5 dimension. So this is a very, very simple example of how to find missing information, but sometimes we need to add and subtract along the number line to find the information that we need. But remember this key point: if you need a horizontal dimension, you need other horizontal dimensions to find what you're looking for. If you need a vertical dimension, you need to use other vertical dimensions to find what you're looking for. Now when this part is finished, it's all created, it's ready to go, we're doing our final inspection. We take these measurements. Hey, everything looks good. I looked at the title block. My tolerances are right on. And then I get to this dimension here. I get this 3.0 dimension in parentheses, and it's basically saying it's the overall width of this part. So what do the brackets mean? So what we'll find sometimes on prints is we'll have dimensions, 3 decimal, 1 decimal, 2 decimal, and remember in our title block, the tolerance box will tell us that this maybe this is plus or minus 2 thousandths of an inch, maybe this is plus or minus 10 thousandths of an inch, this is plus or minus 5 thousandths of an inch. And as long as we create those features inside those tolerances, this part will do what its function is. But perhaps this dimension is not critical. All of the dimensions on the inside of this part are critical and critical to one another. But perhaps this overall width is not critical. Maybe it doesn't slide into anything. Maybe this floats in outer space. So when you see a dimension with parentheses around it, it just means that it's a reference dimension. Okay, so it's not an absolute dimension. If you were to measure this width, if this is good, this is good, this is good, and this is good, and this is about 3 inches, it's fine, right? So it's just a reference dimension. It's just something to refer to kind of make sure that you're in the ballpark. But when it has parentheses around it, we don't even need to write that dimension down. We don't need to prove that that dimension is right, as long as everything else fits, and everything else is to size according to the company's or the customer's direction.